All right, hello and welcome to our webinar for the Atlantic AquaHacking Challenge. So I'm here with Mike Chaulk. My name is Steph Gora, and we are the water issue leaders for the water treatment issue, which in longer form, we've expanded to what tools can small, rural, and Indigenous communities use to manage their drinking water supplies. So I'm a postdoctoral research fellow at the Center for Water Resources Studies at Dalhousie University. My research mostly focuses on Arctic water quality and advanced oxidation, UV, and nanomaterial-based treatment systems.
My name is Mike Chaulk, and I'm the manager of process engineering at CBCL Limited, which is an engineering design firm located principally in the Atlantic region with the head office in Halifax. And I focus on the design and operation and maintenance of drinking water treatment plants.
So before we launch into what we want to talk to you about with our water issue, I want to take a moment to talk about what do different people think about when they hear the words water quality. So this is actually going to be different for everyone. So I'm a pretty science-based person. When I think about water quality, I'm often thinking about some of the pictures here, things like the fish there in the water, the hydrologic cycle, water treatment, lab work. But other people are not going to have that same approach. So, think for a second about how you react to those words and what that means and what that might mean for the way that you'd approach water quality problems. Now, that said, on an engineering or science-based side, we often talk about drinking water quality concerns in terms of health-based and aesthetic concerns. So health-based contaminants are things like microbial contamination, some metals, disinfection byproducts. Aesthetic concerns are also really important though, because this is what our consumers see when the water arrives at their home. So this is things like turbidity, color, taste, smell. So in order to make sure that we do have clean drinking water for consumers, in Canada we take a multi-barrier approach to drinking water management. So now this involves things including source water protection. So that's making sure that the lakes, rivers, and wells from where we get our drinking water are protected, and so that contaminants don't get in as much as possible. Then we have treatment. So this is when we have technological solutions to remove contaminants from the drinking water. Then the water is sent through the distribution system to individual buildings and homes where it's consumed by consumers. So underlying all this, though, is a whole system of monitoring, reporting, and regulation oversight. So all these things work together in Canada to make sure that consumers have safe drinking water. That said, small drinking water systems in Canada often have problems. So the graph here shows the percentage of boil water advisories in Canada that happen in different sized communities. So the purple at the very top is referring to very small systems. So in this case, less than 100 people are using that water. And the yellow is larger systems, so more than 5,000 people. And what you'll see is that the smaller systems are responsible for almost all of the boil water advisories in Canada. Now, there are a couple different reasons for this, related to treatment, related to the ability to finance and operate the system, and also related to cultural norms and preferences. I want to make special note of some things that affect Indigenous communities in Canada, because these challenges often exacerbate the water quality problems. So one of these is long-standing water quality issues. Most of you have probably heard about boil water advisories in First Nations. And so when a community has a really long-standing boil water advisory, often people lose confidence in the water there. There are a lot of lingering effects of colonialism that result in a lack of trust between Indigenous communities and the Canadian government. This also is related to complex and shifting governance structures. But one of the interesting things is that a lot of Indigenous communities also have spiritual beliefs and practices related to water. In the past, these have mostly been ignored, but people are starting to take them more seriously and incorporate them in, something that we have to be aware of when we're as engineers. So we'd like to go through a couple case studies in Atlantic Canada related to drinking water quality management in Atlantic Canada.
Our first case study will discuss the community, the First Nation community of Potlotek First Nation. Potlotek is located on the southern shores of the Bredor Lakes or on Cape Breton Island, which is part of Nova Scotia. The community, which has between 500 and 700 residents, which varies by season, has had long-standing drinking water quality issues that have included discoloration and unsafe water and boil orders. And generally, there's been a lot of negative press associated with water quality in the community. And several years ago, we started working with the community to develop a new long-term water treatment strategy to replace the existing infrastructure. In these photos on the left, you can see the old water treatment plant that serves the community, and on the right was the water storage reservoir. Both of these were in very poor condition and were unable to reliably supply quantity or safe quality water to the community. We developed a significant infrastructure project for the community that saw a new intake and water treatment plant built alongside the existing infrastructure using the same water source, which is impacted from wastewater and other runoff. New water transmission main and a new water storage reservoir to completely replace all the existing treatment and storage infrastructure in the community. The water treatment plant itself is based on a treatment process called dissolved air flotation, which is a form of water clarification that floats flocculated material and then removes it through a clarification step. That's followed by dual media rapid gravity filtration, disinfection, and an oxidative media filtration step that is designed to remove iron and manganese that is not removed in the dissolved air flotation process. In these photos on the right, you can see the new completed water treatment plant from December of 2019, when it first went into service supplying water to the community. On the left is a photo of the new water storage reservoir as it was being constructed. This is the top 10 or 20 feet of the tank, which is actually about 60 feet tall in total. So this is during construction as the tank is built and moved up in a stepwise fashion. Inside the treatment plant are two redundant dissolved air filtration trains, which you can see in this photo. And after that treatment step, there are oxidative media filters that remove iron and manganese. So this plant is built in accordance with industry standard practice and has resulted in a significant amount of infrastructure being built for the community. It cost nearly $6 million in capital, and it has created a significant operational and maintenance burden for the community in the long term, which at this point is still uncertain how that will be managed for the community.
All right, so I would like to talk a little bit about an Arctic region of Canada that some of you may not be familiar with. It's called Nunatsiavut, and it's in the northern portion of Labrador. And this is home to a number of different Inuit communities, and they have tried a few different approaches to drinking water treatment and management, and the approaches that have worked or not worked have been pretty culturally dependent. So one thing to keep in mind is that Arctic communities often experience much higher levels of GI or gastrointestinal illness than communities in the south. And some of this has been connected to drinking water. So there are all sorts of things. There's other things that can be causing this, but drinking water has been identified as one of these. So a few researchers have done a lot of work in a community called Rigolet in Newfoundland, Labrador / Nunatsiavut. And they did a lot of surveys talking to people about how they felt about different types of water. So this is just a subset of the results of one of the studies. And people were asked to describe, how would they describe the color, taste, and smell of your water? So if you remember, these are all aesthetic concerns. So people have a couple different ways that they access water in this community. So they have water from the tap, water they purchased at the store, and water they gathered from the land, from streams and lakes on the land. So you can see that the words that people use to describe the tap water are pretty different from the ones that they use to describe the water from the store or land. And a lot of their concerns relate to chlorine. Most people don't really love the taste of chlorine, and it's something that really drives the way that people access water and use water in this community. So it's not just aesthetic water quality concerns that people have in this community, they also have concerns about the safety of their drinking water. So again, a little subset of the results from that study, people were asked, do you feel that your tap water is safe to drink? And do you feel that water you gathered from the land is safe to drink? And more people felt that the water gathered from the land was safe to drink. So if you look at the kind of water quality or water that's being supplied to their homes, and so here you can see a couple different types of water that are available in the community. You can see why people have some concerns with their tap water, though the brook water is also pretty strong color. And this set of pictures also shows one of the solutions that was tried in this community, which was called a potable water dispensing unit. So this was a small centralized treatment system. And it wouldn't send water to people's homes, rather people can come with their own jugs and fill them up. And that last really clear looking water sample in section A of those pictures is showing the water that people can collect from the potable water dispensing.
Which does not have chlorine.
which is not a chlorine. Thank you. So this is a nice graphic from that one of the studies that was done up in that community, and showing how people feel about their water quality and the water quality they get from different places. So again, this is kind of summarizing a lot of those survey results. So this potable water dispensing unit was installed in, I believe, the end of 2013, start of 2014. And you can see that the installation of this new unit really changed the way that people use drinking water in the community. And most people, well, not most people, we don't know how many of the people, but a lot of the people who were spoken to in this study were very happy with that water quality. That said, gathering water from the land is still a major part of life for a lot of people. And so it's something that, it can't not be taken into account when people are developing solutions for this community and other communities that have these kinds of cultural practices. So just to quickly summarize, small and or Indigenous communities in Atlantic Canada often face unique challenges that are around water quality. We need to be able to provide water for these communities that is both safe and aesthetically pleasing. And the solutions we come up with need to take cultural practices into account and address local practices and concerns. So our call to action is, can you develop a tool that will empower small and or Indigenous communities in Atlantic Canada to manage their drinking water in an effective, sustainable, and culturally acceptable way?
What we're looking for here is to consider the large infrastructure approach, like I articulated, and the small infrastructure approach that Stephanie articulated, and the associated risks, in order to synthesize that information to try and understand whether there are different solutions that should apply for small communities that may not result in the same water quality in all locations.
And so thank you so much for your attention, and thank you to our founders, supporters, and funding partners. We're looking really forward to working with you in the Atlantic AquaHacking competition, and we hope that you'll come up with some great ideas for small communities.
Thank you.